What role does graphic design play in communication during times of crisis in order to ensure the successful delivery of critical information? For the public to receive accurate and timely information during times of crisis, efficient communication is essential. This is especially crucial in the fast-paced world of today, where false information may travel easily and seriously injure people. Knowing how to communicate clearly amid a crisis is essential for graphic designers to ensure the effectiveness of their communication. In this study, we will examine the significance of communication in emergency situations and the crucial role that graphic designers can play in providing the public with accurate and timely information. We will also look at different ways graphic designers might communicate in order to efficiently deliver information and lessen the effects of crisis circumstances. It is intended that by the end of this study, readers would have a greater grasp of the significance of efficient communication in crisis situations and how graphic designers may help.
The graphic approach, or the graphic design, is part of an overall approach. Incidents planned or crisis plans represent the skeleton. The graphic and icons are over it as blank layout are provided to the respective authorities and media partners, stakeholders. After, they can provide the associated data in real time. All such graphic elements should also be related to the corresponding uniform visual appearance. So we can say also the corporate identity must be included, so that they are clearly assignable. An ongoing process also require adaptations. The graphics, badges and colors on the severity of the crisis is definitely a mission to do.
Graphic designers can use effective communication techniques to ensure the timely broadcasting of vital information during emergencies. Effective crisis communication is essential to successful crisis management. According to a study done about the role of effective crisis communication by the government in managing the first wave during COVID-19 pandemic, the government's ability to effectively communicate during these times of crisis has ensured good information management, media management, appropriate supportive action, and open dialogue with stakeholders. Effective communication has also helped the government in gaining positive basic acknowledgement, favorable effect on stakeholders, and recruiting active stakeholders in crisis management, leading to effective crisis management and improved reputation for the government. According to Brewer, strategic communication is knowing that what you say is as important as how you say it. So say it in a clear and understandable way. It will show people that you are on top of the game, you understand the situation and are focused on resolving the problem. Communication in times of crisis is more than talking. Anyone can talk, but communication is not about talking alone. It is about reassuring, showing confidence, and expressing a plan of action. Stating facts in order to explain the situation and to showing people a way out of the crisis. A good way in order to state facts in a clear way are infographics. They are intended to make difficult materials easier to absorb and assimilate by presenting information in a straightforward and visually appealing manner. They can include charts, graphs, maps, diagrams, icons, pictures, and many more elements. Commonly used situations occur where crucial information has to get clearly and rapidly explained to the public. It is important that infographics are always based on real data. In order to make infographics even more interesting, animated interactive infographics can be used to illustrate complex information. Wilson talks about the fact that a fully staffed public relations team handling press conferences is critical to the success of crisis communication, graphic designers included. Photos and interviews of leaders during those times calm the public. They want to see someone in charge who can explain the situation. There is a reason why we had so many and so frequent press conferences during the COVID pandemic. People had to get reassured. They needed to see someone they can trust. Visuals are very important, even in our body language. We not only communicate through verbal cues, but also with visual and vocal ones. Research has shown that the visual cues are far more important than the verbal ones. Stakeholders are more affected by what they see than what they hear.
Visuals can help create understanding where words alone are not enough. In moments of stress, visual can bring up familiar storage behaviors patterns.
What clearer way to communicate than clear imagery? Well-chosen and controlled information in order to avoid misinformation. Good client designer communication is crucial for maintaining visual accessibility in graphic design, which is necessary for effective crisis communication. Designs are interpreted differently by people with varied levels of visual acuity due to the variety of impairments that exist. In order to be effective in communication, graphic designers have to respect everyone's needs and be clear in their imagery in order to make the information understandable for their audience. Typography and icons are another good example of this clear imagery. They are often forgotten, but at least as important as infographics. Graphic designers have to choose a strategic typography or symbol in order to explain a situation. The imagery produced has to be readable and clean. Also to illiterate people, you have to ensure the safety of everyone. According to Cornish and her colleagues, clarity is a vital part in graphic design. You need it to be inclusive to all possible stakeholders. When in product design you can focus on physical accessibility, graphic designers have to focus on visual accessibility. This means working with clear imagery, structured texts, and tidy graphic elements. Unfortunately, there is a lack of research focusing on visual accessibility in graphic design. Graphic designers mainly use legislation and print guidelines. Visual accessibility is not taken into account enough in print-based graphic design, hence tools for inclusive design are required to help designers. Social media platforms can be extremely effective instruments for communicating during crisis. Social media posts can be made more interesting, shareable, and understandable with the aid of graphic designers. Social media graphics can be used to communicate instructions, safety advice, and updates. Never has our world been more connected than today.
Smartphones with social media have limited use in natural disaster because communication structures or energy are limited. Social media consume a lot of working time and energy.
Donald Miller, a storytelling expert from the United States, talks about the range communication has nowadays. The COVID crisis was the first time in history when we were able to communicate in such lengths. He says rather than under-communicating, you should use the power given by social media and over-communicate. Keep your stakeholders informed at all times. Be transparent and gain their trust. Even when you haven't got any new information, present the ones you have in another form in order to change the public's view and give them another possibility to understand. Explain the situation you are in and potential solutions. Show that you are in control of the situation and be empathetic. Today, social media platforms are the most important communication channels. Even when press conferences are shared on live news on TV, most people see them on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. The use of multiple media channels is important in order to get the message to your stakeholders. Nonetheless, it is important that readers monitor the information they get from social media in order to not get disinformed. When graphic designers have to explain an idea or tell a story that needs a higher level of detail or creativity, they often use illustrations. They help explain something complex in an understandable manner without losing too much information. Moreover, they can be helpful when icons are too simple to illustrate awareness. Storytelling plays a crucial role when communicating over a large time frame. By creating a compelling visual narrative using relatable characters and scenarios, simplifying complex information, using visual cues for emphasis, evoking emotions, and adopting a human-centered approach, graphic designers can produce powerful visual communication that informs the audience during times of crisis. But storytelling does not end with the crisis. According to Oliver Aust, it should also be used after the crisis. Your stakeholders need closure and you have to rebuild the trust. Find human and personal stories, be transparent with your audience, and show them you are human too. According to Oliver Aust, a communication specialist, crisis is make or break. Businesses can suffer from a crisis or emerge from it with a strengthened reputation. Even when we cannot control the occurred event, we can control our reaction to it. Nowadays, time is very important. We live in a fast-paced world where misinformation spreads fast. While doing research about the subject, I find that a lot of government administrations consider certain rules in order to be more time efficient while in crisis. First, use multiple communication channels in order to reach as many people as possible. Of course, while keeping your target audience in mind. You should use traditional channels such as TV, radio, print media, but also digital channels such as social media, websites, email, etc. Secondly, you should consider working on a pre-established visual communication plan. Develop it ahead of emergencies. You should include protocols for spreading critical information and pre-establish the channels to use in order to get to your target audience. Lastly, in order to be sure that in case of emergency everything is functional, test your communication channels beforehand. When wanting to be as time efficient as possible, AI could play a key factor. In a crisis, you are put under a lot of time pressure. In order to focus on solving the emergency, you could automate your visual communication as much as possible. Connecting your communication plan with the right AI programs could save a lot of time and resources. Tailored visual communication to the occurring events. Those AI tools would not replace people, but help communication teams to be more autonomous in case of an emergency. In the example of public sector, which likely includes government, public and service users, this is especially important. AI could lend a helping hand by generating real-time warnings, predicting situations and produce alerts. Locate people, analyze data, classify information through crowdsourcing, social media, or produce imagery. Nonetheless, even when all this information can be crucial when in need, we have to protect our data, or at least ask to get it from our audience. The right information in the wrong hands can make a lot of damage. However, what is more important, the data of a single person or the well-being of a group?
When using IE, the lack of clear tracking of baseline data is a potential danger. Who can be takes the responsibility?
In conclusion, we can say that graphic design plays a major role in communication during times of crisis. It ensures successful delivery of critical information by making it accessible to different stakeholders. By making it accessible, I not only mean readable in a physical manner, but also understandable by different demographics. Graphic designers make abstract situations and complex information understandable to the public. When people are faced with a difficult situation, they do not want to read long texts or misunderstand reframed photos. They want clear information in order to understand what they have to do next. Clarity and doing something gives them hope and calms them. The power of visual communication in a crisis cannot be underestimated. In some ways, graphic designers can be compared to visual translators and psychologists.